So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Les French Wine Day to speak about the craft products, beer, cider, and spirits. Remember that you can view all the products present in the selection and also the top 10 on our web platform testefrance-wineandspirit.com. The session will hosted by Valérie Chartrain. Thank you, Valérie, for joining us today. The session will be recorded and you can ask your questions in writing in the chat. Enjoy your session. Over to you, Valérie.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and to be here. Yeah, because I do believe we're here together somewhere. And I'm really delighted to get you through this testing today, that of the 10 best drinks, beverages that caught our attention to, like most of us at the tasting when we tested last March. And we don't know each other yet, and you might be wondering what I'm here talking about craft to you today. So I will just say a few words about myself. And so my name is Valérie Chartrain, as you see it on the screen now. And I'm French, as you can hear through my accent, but I do live in Germany, in Berlin, for over 10 years. And to tell you the truth, I started my career in contemporary art. So it seems very far away from wine and spirits and what's gonna be the topic of our meeting today. But I got to know collectors who were both collecting wine and spirits and art. And at some point I realized I was spending way more time talking about their spirits collection than about art. And I thought, okay, that's maybe a sign something has to switch in my life. And I had really the chance to test incredible beverage with them. I was very spoiled. And that led me to study at the WSIT more than 10 years ago. And I really got hooked into the research of taste. So I left the contemporary art world to enter the world of wine and spirits. And and I don't not look back, but I do have a lot of demands in terms of taste, the way it was also in terms of art. So since then I launched a platform called spiritsfully.com, which has offline and online life, as we all do now, and it seems. And so online, the platform is really dedicated at explaining how the different spirits are made in the most simple way possible, I hope. And offline, I mostly work with trade fairs, but also with producers group, but also with end consumers. I'm also scouting for young companies, a new product, interesting methods that could be interesting for the fair. And I always try to bring also something that has to do with anticipation. Also work with imagining the future of drinking, futures of bars, future of alcohol consumption in general. So yeah, that's to give an idea about who I am. And for example, in Berlin, I'm also in charge of the public program for the Craft Spirits Berlin Fair. So that's, the word is out. That has to do with craft. So now you understand why I'm now responsible here of this testing about craft. What is craft? We saw in this small video before that it can be everywhere in many different categories. Nobody knows what it is exactly. Everyone has his own definition, and the definition I feel also differs from country to country. In the US, for example, when you talk about craft, you have way more this idea of freedom, do it yourself. In Europe, there is more emphasis on ingredient, production methods, scale. And I think I would take as my definition the definition that is very close of what define the group of spirits we're gonna test today, spirits and beer and cider. We're gonna start today. So they're all artisanal traditional production in small distilleries, small breweries. They're independent. That is very important too. They're without corporate shareholders. They're free of artificial and synthetic additives. It's not about preservatives, etc. There's no flavoring extract. There is no artificial sugar substitute, and they have also no GMOs. So that would be something that would be some kind of definition that really brings together the various productions that have been selected today and that we're gonna test together today. Even though the production technique are, of course, very different, and usually it's maybe also different buyers or different criteria, but I think this is also changing. And for consumers, when they talk about craft, they want to have something very wide and not only spirits or not only beers, but they want to see everything that is done artisanally. So yeah, this is why we're gonna test them together today. And I would like to say, don't hesitate to interrupt me and ask questions at any time or write in the chat. I'm trying to always have a look at what's going on also there. And I suggest we will proceed always the same way for the different drinks. I will first let the producer describe and present his work and how he ended up with the spirits we're going to test. Then I will guide you through the testing, and then we have also some minutes to, if you have questions, remarks, if you disagree about something, that would be the moment to do it. Yeah. Do you already have? I don't see any faces anymore. If you can put the camera on, if it's possible, that would be fantastic. So I have the impression we're together in this testing. But if you can't, I will understand too. So do you have some questions or remarks to start with before we jump into the first drink? I'd say check in the chat. No, it seems everything's clear. You ready to start? Very good.
Yes.
So I think we're gonna start with cider. We're gonna do the same like we tested during the testing last March. So I think we're gonna start with the first cider, which is the cider, the Cider Rosé. This one.
Hello.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would like to invite the producer.
Yeah, it's me. Hello?
Yeah.
You hear me?
I think you can. Yeah. Maybe we only talk about you can make it like an introduction first.
Great. Okay. So guten Tag. Sorry, I don't speak German, so it's going to be in English. So my name is Maxime Siord. I am a sales manager for the cider house Lebrun. So we are a family-owned business since 1955, and we are located in French Brittany. French Brittany is a well-known region for cider in France. We are #1 independent in France. We produce 4.5 million bottles per year, and we have our own orchards. We have around 120 hectares in France. The idea is in France, we are mostly in the retail market. So we work with retailers such as Carrefour, Auchan, Leclerc, Casino, that you probably already know. And what makes our ciders specific is that first we do premium ciders. All our ciders are 100% pure juice, meaning that we do not add any water or concentrates. Our ciders are with natural sparkling bubbles, meaning that unlike industrial ciders, we do not add our gas into our ciders. We are unpasteurized, meaning that the idea is when you're unpasteurized, we preserve the flavors of the fruits. And we are 100% natural. We do not add any sugar. We are with no chemical preservative. So we've been producing this since, as I said, 1955, and we've been participating to many contests. We've been winning, for example, a well-known contest in France called the Concours Général Agricole, and we have 67 medals for this contest. We also participate to an international contest called the International Cider Contest, International Cider Challenge contest in London, and we already won 48 medals. The idea is that we also have, in terms of certification, we have IFS. That means that we also can work with the private label. So we have some clients, mostly in France, but we can also work with international clients on private label. Today, you'll be testing our new brand called Les Bulles Naturelles. So Bulles Naturelles means natural bubbles in French. You'll be testing our organic one, and we have an organic and a pink flavor. So you will see the pink is called rosé in French, and what makes it, so you'll see that the color is very pink, but there's no coloring. Huh? It's because we add 20% of the variety is called red love. So it's a red apple that makes this special color, and it brings a little acidity that you will taste, and you will see during the testing. So I hope that you will have a great testing. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer. Is it clear?
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a perfect introduction. And
Okay.
I think now we have to prove it, how it is. Yeah, do you all have the cider with you? Yeah, did you already pour it? Yeah, how was it for you to just pour it? In terms of, I mean, of course you have like the color that is also not overwhelming pink. I think this is way more like, yeah, rosé, amber, copper style of color, and it's very nice one. At the beginning, the foam is not too persistent. I don't know how it was for you. I see you already have your nose into it, and I think 11, that's a perfect moment, so we decide to drink. So this is where we have like the nose the most, we can smell the most. I mean, I will list it as a discussion, so feel free to also give me your comment or etc. Because on the nose, I find there is something very, it's a very pronounced note. It's highly aromatic, and you have something very like floral, but like quickly goes into something a bit more spicy too. And then on the palate, I feel like the carbonation is very subtle. It's very subtle, pleasantly dry also. I think it's very different from some carbonation that are really aggressive in terms of cider that can really happen, and it's not the case. It's very soft, and whereas I mean we were very impressed how very quickly we had the taste of like apple, and everything was very balanced with the spice, with like this idea of like apple juice. Yeah, more apple juice that compotes, or we're gonna test after something that would be a bit different. There was something yeah, highly, in fact, really like what give pleasure in drinking an apple juice, and there is something very digestible in this one, and I really like also that it's like really linger in the mouth in a very interesting way. When you do have like the apple that stay, but like the acidity is still there. So I mean, we were like really happily surprised. We were a bit afraid at the very beginning, starting with cider, that we're gonna have the most like coating with sugar, and that's not the case at all. So it was really pleasant. Yeah, I think what we like, I think maybe I will, in terms of like the tasting, you feel free if you want to like participate and add something to it. But like what we really like with this cider is that it's anyhow like a real cider. It's really a French cider. And I'm saying this from being in a country where you have a lot of like cider more like UK style, which is very different in terms of carbonation, in terms of acidity. And here we were more into something, we're more like full-bodied, like more on the sweetness, something like very delicious of ripe apple. And that's something that makes you very happy. And I feel also for being someone who love this concept of aperitif, and but sometimes not into having a cocktail from straight the beginning on, especially in the summertime. That's really something that would make sense in bars and sharing with friends, and also because not everyone wants to drink beer. So I feel like that would be a very nice way to have something easy. And also, I say we because we had the same reflection. We also like the format. It feels, yeah, for a chance we're a bit less in feel like the poor person next to the beer drinker, we can easily bring it along. And a beer, and this time they were just made it like very on the go, to have pleasure, very on the go, not having this impression of like drinking lemonade or drinking something overly sweet, but really something with like a nice acidity, very fresh, a lot of apple, and yeah, something practical in the format. That's I think also something we liked about it. What do you think? Do you have like any question, or should we go into like the other cider from the same producer? I think that's a nice way to see also what they propose. Just change glasses. So I have a question actually for you, Maxime. So is the first the rosé also organic, or is only the second one that is completely organic?
No, the second one is completely organic. The rosé is not completely. For now, it's not completely organic.
Okay. So let's go for the other one from the GAM, so the one that is completely organic. And do you plan to have everything organic, or is that something that is?
This is something we are working on. We are in by 2025. For example, for our orchards, we're going to be totally organic. So the process is pretty long, but we're working on it. There's a big trend, of course, on organic, so we're working on it. And today, 20% of our production is organic, but we're really looking forward to go faster on the organic.
Okay, thank you. What do you think about this other one? Did you already pour it in your glass?
I see a question about what kind of apples are used in the rosé. What makes the color is what we call, the variety is called Red Love. You can check on it.
Do you want to write it in the chat?
Yeah.
I think that will be helpful. Thank you. And I think again with this other one, we were like also very happy of the, not only like the color is very like beautifully gold and like or light amber, something like this, but then very quick on the nose. You release the aroma of fresh apple, and also the fresh apple a bit like tart tatin like. And there was already that just brings you in a good disposition and position to want more.
And just to add, when you were talking about the alternative to beer, well, it's gluten-free, and that is also a pretty great. There's a great trend on gluten-free. Ciders are all gluten-free, and they're less caloric, and there's still always less bitterness than beer. So that's why there's more and more. Well, there's a category of people that are looking for alternative beer. So that's why there's that it could be interesting. Cider.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that's also a good way. I mean, I can see you have like all of you, many bottles behind you, but I think that's good also to have products according to like all these new needs that people have, or And then on the palate, what do you think? Did you already test it? I mean, you have this idea of like apple, but like I feel you can feel like a bit of like light tannin. There is a very good balance also. I feel in between like the apple, but also there is some. Do you have pear in there? I was wondering, Maxime, or is that only apple? Do you have also pear, or is that only apple?
It's only apple. We do also pear, but not on this. No, there's no pear
on this one. Yeah. Because I feel you have really a nice balance between the very fresh apple, but also something more like compote and tart tatin, and I mean there is something that just gives a lot of pleasure. We found like both that was like also very approachable, and it was like, oh, this is actually the idea we have. This is what a cider should be, and we thought that would be very nice also just to finish the meal, to like kind of like a palate cleanser, and together with like a dessert, or replace the dessert for those who don't want any dessert anymore. And there is something that makes you smile, I think, in this type of cider. And this is also very different from UK cider with like way more acidity and etc. This one, the acidity is really balanced by the sweetness. the apple. So this balance is actually very pleasant.
Yeah, and we have some comments in the chat. So that your rosé is really good and very fresh, not that intensive as the usual rosés.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think only with those two cider, we already have an idea of like the direction it can take when it goes in a good direction. But we have actually, I'm just checking if we're good with the time. Yeah, we have actually a third cider that I wanted to approach. If you have any question, please.
There's
you have also another
one
question.
in the chat. Yeah. How many different sorts of apple do you grow?
We have, I'll give you, we have at least 20, between 20 different sorts. So there's a lot of different sorts. So it's a combination of different sorts. So it's if you want, I could be more precise and give you the list of the variety of apples because we have very different ones. I'll be more than happy if we can have if you can leave your details, I'll send you this and I'll give you the more information about that. But we use different, we have a lot of different sorts.
Thank you. Yeah, really feel free to ask the question, and that's really okay. We can go back and forth because it takes time sometimes for the question to arrive. That we notice it. So I think we have to like really follow the flow of like how it is for you. So trying to check the chat too. But what I would like to do now is to go into like our third cider for today. And that was actually a good surprise also for us that not only they are very, thank you for putting the slide. Yeah, that not only you have very approachable cider now in France that are easy to drink, that you can take along as an aperitif and actually have pleasure. But on the other side of the spectrum, you also have, see like this cider, which was not like méthode traditionnelle, as we say. And that was for us also like a beautiful surprise. So maybe I will invite the producer to tell us more about like, how did you start with this idea of doing a cider with the méthode traditionnelle?
Okay, my name is Astrid Hubert. You hear me? It's okay?
Yeah,
yes.
We do.
Okay. So I am the 5th generation of the producer in La Fresnay-Fayel. We are in Normandy, just there, in South Pays d'Auge. My family is there since 1855. We are producing cider, calvados, liqueur, vinegar, etc. We have about 50 hectares of extensive apple trees with about 45 different types of apple cider. Since 6 years old, non, c'est pas ça. Since 6 years, we are in organic, and we don't use any product phytosanitaire. In our estate, we are only 2, my husband and I. So we are harvesting, we are producing, we are bottling, distillate, etc. Today I present this cider méthode traditionnelle. So yes, it's called 1855 because it's the date of the first Hubert in La Fresnay-Fayel. So this is a cider made with sweet bitter apple. About 60% of it. The rest is sweet and acidic. So we are bottling. We do the fermentation in stainless steel for having about 5 grams of sugar by liters. Then we are bottling with like a champagne method. We are bottling with liqueur de dosage, sugar and yeast, We leave it during like this during 2 years, storage horizontal. After 2 years, we do remuage.
Yeah, you rotate them. Yeah.
Turn it to have the yeast at the end of the bottle. Then we disgorge. We disgorge by hand. And then we add a liqueur for having about 15 grams by liters of sugar.
Okay.
So it's in French it could be brut, something like this. We cork. It's a special cork, and we staple. It's we like this this kind of.
Yeah, it's a different technique. Yeah.
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 This cider is you can drink it with beef or tarte tatin.
Yeah, maybe we can talk. Yeah, let's talk about. I mean, I'm curious about like people trying it, and because it takes some time, I feel, to open. I mean, I just opened the bottle, and I think you need some time to it. And I think as soon as the air is coming, it's like quite interesting how the nose is so different from the one we had before. Still, we like completely cider, but there is something very like complex. We're more into sweet apple, more like toffee, caramel, more in that type, I think, to the nose. And there is like very little. The foam doesn't stay too long. It's not too persistent, but I mean, but the carbonation is like very fine. It keeps going. Yes, thank you for Georg Hofer for like. This is also the conclusion I had for this testing. This is an excellent one, and I feel like you all tested it, right? Because. I'm very scared. It's very complex. There is acidity, but it's very well balanced with the sugar. You feel like something that is a bit tannin, but like really the acidity and the tannin really brings like there's something very sapid and very lively in this cider. And there is really at the same time this impression of like something very light and also a lot of depth. And I feel like you have like all these different type of like primary, secondary like layers, I feel. And it kind of like also, there is a very long, pleasant finish, a very refreshing finish, which is, given everything that happened and the time of this, the duration that you said 2 years.
Yes.
On his etc. wedding. And I feel like it's a very refreshing and lively and young finish. For such a complex wine, and I feel like it was really a complex experience to drink this. I was very curious at the beginning. We didn't know about like méthode traditionnelle or anything, but it's clear that we went directly into like this idea of champagne when we first drink it. And it's, sorry, I cut you like a little bit when you start talking about food, but there was also immediately like this idea of that would be like fantastic as a food pairing, that it could like really accompany like the whole meal. There is something very gastronomic in that cider. There was like, wow. And you know, we could also do this with cider. That I think for me, and not only for me, but for the tester, that was really nice how you widen the spectrum. You make it like, oh, this is all this thing you can do with cider. And and also I really appreciate that there is little alcohol still. I think we buy
6.5.
Yeah, so this is also very pleasant for those who like to go into like light alcohol. And I think that will not overpower the palate if you want to have like delicate poultry or some cheeses or something sweeter. In the end, there is something that is still very fresh, so that the low alcohol level. Do you all agree, or do you have remarks about?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, was that for the newcomers? Yeah, this is just very very pleasant. I remember that we all went back to it at the very end of the tasting, say, oh, we want to see how it has evolved in the glass, and we are really happy that you have something always like deeper, and when it's like warming up.
Merci.
Yeah. Feel free if you have like any question. Do you also imagine it as a very more like gastronomic cider? That's something I'm asking for those who are like testing it for the first time. if it was also your impression that it would be more gastronomic, more something you can imagine on the table, or for a special occasion also. Just checking if someone's talking in the chat. Yeah, I think that was a very short trip within the world of cider before we can go into beer, but I feel like those three positions really shows also how you can go between like this rosé cider, I think at the beginning was yeah, surprising, different, but also very much a cider. And then we had something very classical, like when you want something like fast and really the good idea, and then finishing with this complex one that is, yeah, just giving another idea of what cider can be. I mean, we're very far away of what you can find in Paris when you go at Crêpe and they have this, I mean, this like bowl of cider that's very aggressive. We're like in a very, yeah, different word.
We have some comments in the chat, like it's bitter, sweet. It is good for advanced cider drinkers, but also great for beginners. Thank you. And we have one question. Which apple do you use for that cider? Astrid?
Oui, j'ai répondu en fait, pardon, j'ai répondu entre autres des variétés très locales. Oh, pardon, sorry.
Local varieties, yeah.
Very local variety of Pays d'Auge, Fréquin rouge, Domaine, more acidic Rimbaud. We have also Douveret de Carouge. It's very local Pays d'Auge variety.
Okay.
Ouais.
And is that like information we can find on your website, for example? Is there on your website?
Yes, there is a lot of information, not this information, but there is.
Okay, so then we have to be in contact with you to know exactly what is.
No problem.
Fantastic apple. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You want to maybe answer on the bubble, because I don't think that's the case. Astrid, do you want? Are you still here, Astrid?
Yes, pardon.
Yeah,
yeah, there is a question in the chat also. Yeah.
Alors, I need breeding in aging barrel. Non, il n'a pas été élevé en fût du tout.
In English, please.
Ah, pardon. I speak a lot in French, but less in English. Not in barrels. No, only stainless steel and in the bottle. It's okay.
Does that answer your question, Sergio? No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And yeah, feel free to ask if you want other questions later. I mean, I think I'm going to move into the beer now.
Yeah.
So we have like enough time for every spirit. And yeah, first to the beer producer here today, I would like to thank you. I'm surrounded in Berlin by beer drinker and yeah, people who makes beer, who do, yeah, so they're really into it, so they sell beer. And that was very nice because with those beer, I went to there is no beer in France, to shit, where can I get this? So that was actually very nice to have a new reputation among my friends with bringing interesting beer in a country where people know about beer. So thank you for this, and I do feel there is a real market for yeah, what you bring and what you've been building over the last years. And I think for everything we tested, that was very representative of all the direction craft brewers can bring us to, and how it will also appeal to like well more drinker. And this is something that I really appreciated also, that I feel now there is really for everyone something to, oh, thank you, Denis. And are you doing this, Denis? Well, that's very impressive.
Oh, no,
and
really
and I think we're going to start with the Bière Blanche, as you can see on the slide. And maybe you would like to say some words about it before we test it, or while we start testing it. I'm going to cut my microphone and leave you the floor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laurent Dufouleur. I am based in the village of Mercurey in Burgundy. Today, I am happy to introduce you with our new craft beer and Collection Tramier, which is the name of our company, with three major entities. First one is Maison Tramier, because originally we are wine producers. So Maison Tramier is a wine matureur based in Burgundy since 1842. Second is Domaine Laurent Dufouleur, which is an estate of 17 hectares, still based in the village of Mercurey and producing different wines from Burgundy. We are certified HVE3 level since the vintage 2020. And third is Roncier brand. Roncier originally was a producer of vin de France, so wines from France with a great ratio price quality. But the fact is that our customership based mainly in France are now challenging us more and more to offer them some beers. So a few years ago, my only answer was to say, sorry, I don't produce beer, I'm just producing wines, but they gave us a real challenge and asked us whether a guy from Burgundy could be able to produce some beers. So here we are. We are here with so two beers today. The white beers that you see that we produce in both formats, 33 and 75 centiliters. And we also will have the blonde beer that we also have in both formats, and that are totally new product for us, totally craft. And this is a new exciting market where we have a lot of demands, mainly in France, but also in other markets.
I just realized my microphone is on.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start. Try it, and we'll probably get back to you with questions. Actually, I do have questions. So I think like for the a Weissbier wheat beer, and first I was very interested that you decided to go into wheat beer, because this is not a very well-known concept. I mean, except in Belgium, I think a bit more. And I feel you like really ticking all the boxes about what wheat beer could be, like from the foam, from the smell, this thing that is a bit like green, grassy, the color, and how like persistent also like the foam is, and it's like a little bit hoppy, but not too hoppy, and there is something a bit more complex. I'm curious to like see like also your feedback and your faces, I must admit. That's the best. And then I feel to the on the palate there is first something very refreshing, but also very sweetness. You have the sweetness I feel of the wheat. There is something very round, but like very quickly you have something a bit more fruity, some spices also, like I would say, something almost orange zest or coriander, something of this. And I'm also surprised of the very long finish that is very pleasant and balanced, and we're not into only the bitterness of hope, but we like into something, very long and complex. And I feel that, it'd be interesting to know why you pick up on that style. But I feel this is something kind of impressive for when I was testing with those beer friends I have, there was very actually, they say, oh, it's actually interesting what beer, I mean, like this Weissbier style for someone who doesn't like Weissbier, because I completely like switch also and the spectrum of what can be done in terms of this style. But I also feel that I'm mostly like a wine drinker, I have to admit, and I feel this is very approachable when you're into drinking wine. And especially when you're into like more like organic, natural style of wine, there is something, I feel like there is some kind of a door to go from liking wine and also start drinking beer from this beer. I'm talking, of course, from my perspective. And I'd be curious to know, so what you all think about it. Are you surprised that it could be also a Weissbier, or this is something you expected?
Absolutely.
And because this is actually, you just want to drink more. I don't know if it's a good thing, but there is something that very refreshing and that, yeah, it feels like very digest. And this is, yeah, I think it's a very interesting beer to me, and that I could really actually enjoy from being like a wine drinker. Yeah, I totally agree. It's like very smooth, very, there's something very fruity in it, and it stays also. This is not something that happens just when you open the bottle. I think I really like this like lingering refreshness and fruit and bitter, but not too much. And also something that I really appreciate, maybe you will think that it's a bit an obsession with me, but I really like that it's only like 4.1%. So this is also very reasonable, and I'm also saying this because that's something that I can see at the fair. That's a concern for many persons to know. Yeah, what am I exactly drinking? How much can I drink, and how can? So I feel this one is very approachable in to that extent because it's very low alcohol, but very pleasant.
Thank you.
Is that Are you already in some countries like in Germany or in Austria or?
We are starting not that long ago with the beer idea. It was an idea that I was having for more than 10 years, but it took time for me to develop it. I currently have got some very strong contacts with my current wine importers in the United Kingdom and in Japan. Those two markets are definitely thinking about importing those beers as a complement, but for German markets, currently I'm available without any problem.
Yeah, and I think that's a kind of a challenge, I would think, from point of view of like having a beer in the East when there is like this tradition of beer. But I think you do bring with this drink and the next one we're going to have, you really bring something very singular. And this is what we liked about those beers. And because if it's to repeat again, I mean, we're going to have the same also with the gin afterwards. We're going to try if it is to have like another gin on the shelf. You need something with more personality. And I feel this one is bringing something different in terms of, yeah, actually I had like difficulties to keep my bottle for myself at the end of the tasting with my friends. And I feel this is something also that you have, I think I would suggest we go into the other beer that you propose, because this is actually very different. It's for me, I would not say it's a beer from like aperitif or something. And do you want to say something about the the production first? So it's okay if we can drink while we can test it while you like maybe introduce it to us.
Well, you can feel free to enjoy it. Just a few words for those beers. This was a real challenge for us as winemakers because beers have many things in common with winemaking, but also many different things that we didn't know at all. So it took us some time to develop those three products because we have three beers. We have plenty of ideas for the future. We would like to age some beers in some wooden barrels from Hospice de Beaune, for example, and things like that to maintain the link between Burgundy wines and Burgundy beers, because this can be a very interesting idea. For the blonde beer, I wanted to add a touch of a natural honey. The idea.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, the idea was to make it very smooth, easy to drink, and pleasant with something different. You know. So that was my main idea with this blonde beer. With the white beer, the wheat beer, we wanted to have something very refreshing, not too alcoholic. That was not the idea. So to make it easy to drink when it is a hot day in the summer, for example.
Yeah, and I think this is why the contrast is very strong with this beer. I feel like the first one, as like Sergio, is like way more like light bodied. This one we're into something way more medium bodied, I would say. And I feel like usually what you expect also from, I mean, of course, the blonde beer is a huge category, but you imagine something with a nice balance between sweetness and bitterness, and you imagine also some lemon, citrus, and something more medium body. But I feel what was very interesting in this one is there is something very floral also to the nose, and also on the palate that was actually also there in the finish. That was very long, that was very pleasant. And it's interesting that the honey comes just at the very end. I feel at the very beginning you have it a bit on the nose, but you can't totally place it. You don't know if you like honeysuckle or still in the flower, but when you like on the palate, the honey is staying, which without being like powering, without like, yeah, you're still drinking a beer, you're not drinking mead or anything like this. But I was wondering, why did you decide to add honey?
Or just because I wanted to kill the potential acidity that could have been too high with my first batch of blonde beers that I did. I couldn't reach the right smoothness that I wanted to add. And I had the idea to add a little touch of honey just to sweeten things, not to make it sweet, that is not the idea, but just to sweeten the final taste, you know, to make it very pleasant. Yeah, and I think this is also what brings also the beer to me into something a bit more gastronomic. I would totally imagine it, I mean, eating and drinking it at the same time as a complement. And I mean, I'm not like as a sommelier, and I not always think about accompaniment to a meal when I'm thinking about beer. But this one, I would really imagine that it would really enhance each other, and yeah, that gave me also the idea, and I think that's something that will come. So the next beer we're gonna have, that it would be like really pleasant at the end of the meal, was to counterbalance also maybe like a rich dessert or something like this. And there was really something very gastronomic in it that was very pleasant into it. And yeah, I totally agree with what Sergio wrote also, like it's medium body and there is something floral, but for me there is also something a bit more like roasted malt, something that is even more complex than just the flour, and that you will really have it in the finish. So yeah, thank you. I think it's interesting to have the perspective of a winemaker, certainly like doing beer, because you come with like a different type of flavor profile, and I feel like this is really present in the beer when we think we all know everything about. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
We have still one comment in the chat left. Two very different beers. The Blanche light-bodied, very fresh and cruisy finish. The Blonde is medium-bodied, very complex floral notes of jasmine, dried rose, wisteria. Extremely interesting.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so if we want to stay in the interesting, I think we can maybe switch into the third beer we have. Thank you very much for your explanation. And yeah, I'd like to invite the Karma producer to tell us a bit more about you. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Dear everyone, we are very pleased to be with you today and welcome in our universe. We have moved our computer in the middle of the tanks to give you a little view of where we work. Here you have two of the three founders of Karma. Adrien is here. He's a passionate guy who transformed into reality his dream of making a real brewery. And he's in charge of all the business and especially the commercial part. And Matthew is one of the members of the company. He is the brother of Adrien, and he is in charge of all the design and creative skills, I would say. And I am the third founder. I am Adrien's wife, and I am in charge of all the communication and the strategy. So I will rapidly present Karma, because Adrien is much more better in brewing than in English, so I am in charge of this short introduction. So
is that okay with you if we start the beer, trying the beer while you talk?
You're welcome. Corma is a French craft brewery. We are located in the south of France, 1 hour from Toulouse. And we are currently present in all the territory, the French territory, in specialized stores and beer shops. And locally, we are present in some groceries. We take our inspiration from the US, from the more, I would say, expert craft breweries that we look a lot, and they are inspiring us in terms of innovation and a way of inventing new recipes. What is key for us is the sourcing of our cereals and hops. So we work today with dozens of French different varieties of hops and cereals. And Adrian is clearly a big hops fan and hopping process. So it takes time and care a lot about adapting each recipes and its full process according to the hops he used. And that is why we are also fully involved into the French, I would say, brewery industry and the network to be really, I would say, involved into the development on this of this network. So we stay aware of all the news in the market, the regulation, to be constantly up to date on this dynamic market. We currently have 6 permanent recipes: 1 lager, 1 Hefeweizen, 1 pale ale, 1 stout, 1 IPA, and the one you are tasting, which is our triple.
The triple, yeah. Yeah, do you all have it? Oh, you, sorry, I didn't want to cut you, sorry.
No. Just as a conclusion, one of the key objectives in Corma is to clearly create, I will say, accessible beer. So we really want to democratize craft beer and make people and more people aware of this, I will say, fabulous industry and drinks. So it's really one of our key battles, and we think we will appreciate it. So,
can you tell us why this name Corma?
Corma, it was how the Gaulois, the first, I will say, historical French people call the beer.
Corma, okay. It's good to know. Thank you.
Very old name.
So, as you, I think you've already tried it. The color, we were again in a very different type of color. We're more like chestnut with a lot of foam, very persisting foam, very aromatic beer. And with already like on the nose, for me, there is something very fruity. I feel it's most like banana, like apple, and yeah, I find it actually very complex. You still have the same fruitiness on the palate, like the banana for me is still very strong, but there is something also like the malt is here. And it's very like, the finish is almost going into like something chocolate. Now if this is something you would also say, but for me this is something very long. And I heard that you said that you love hop. And I was like, oh my God. And actually I found the hop here is like really well tenu, I would say, I feel like very well mastered, that you didn't let hop taking the whole this position into it. And I feel, for me, I was surprised because the first thing that I had in my mind while drinking it was more this idea of like a dessert wine, like a port or something that I could totally have at the end of the meal. Something very complex, something that would bring something in addition to like the meal and all the different flavor. And so I would say this is perfect. Maybe you attended this on aperitif, but I think there is something very complex in that beer that is surprisingly and yeah, very pleasant. And I think the bitterness is really also not overpowering. And because you have like all the malt of the sweetness, the rye, there is something very full-bodied in it that is that makes it a very yeah. I mean, I don't know about like this American influence. This is something I'm still wondering if it's really American. I think this is a very European way of thinking American, but I find it even interesting for that. And that every time that every time you imitate, you actually create something new. And I think, yeah, I'm curious about your other beer. Yeah. You say you have 6 so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the idea is to have like permanent beer and like every year something more seasonal according to like the new experiment, right? Okay.
Exactly. We have this 6 permanent recipe, but we are already working on a, I would say, new generation of beer, much seasonal one, ephemeral one. And we will pursue this development with also a new can range to complete this bottle range.
I will come in can, in dozer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I totally agree. I can see in the comments someone is talking about blue Stilton. Yeah. That must be very nice, yeah. Yeah, so thank you for this very gastronomic beer again. I don't know if it's because you're all coming from France and I'm thinking food all the time, but there is something that is that has to do with food, with a beer in terms of how you like really extend also the palette of taste and like the range of flavor we can have, and this I think contributes to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think I would suggest everyone, you feel to ask questions, we can go back to it, but otherwise I would suggest to drink some water, because I think the idea now is to go from beer to gin, which is a huge jump we will have to do test-wise. So I'm also going to have some water. Oh, there is, thank you, Donny, for really giving you like us a hint about where we're going now. We actually are going to follow the bird, right?
Hey guys.
Hello, tell us about
You
this
ready, Valérie?
birdie you did. Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, great. Hey everyone, I'm Thomas. I'm one of the founder of Birdie, our craft distillery. We launched it almost 2 years ago now in Lille, in north of France, where for now, for the time being, we only make gins. Today you're gonna taste one of our 3 gins, which is called the Timut, and you'll see after the tasting profile with Valérie as well. I'm gonna be quick. Our main leitmotif consists in working with some neutral wheat alcohol from our region, in which we had some flavors from all over the world to it. These flavors are some souvenir from our travels that we did for many years now. So basically, we let the botanicals steep into the still with some alcohol for a night, and then we distill the whole macerate. Because that's the way we work to extract the best of the flavors to make our gins very with a lot of aromatics. Each bottle is manually filled and sealed in a
by yourself.
I'm sorry.
By yourself.
By yourself as well, in a premium white coated bottle like this. I don't know if you see it on the camera like this.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
All ingredients are written at the back of the bottle as well in French and English. Now these are 70 centiliters bottle, even if seems to be small. So all of our gins are very different. Today with Timut, you're gonna taste a complex gin with Timut pepper, Damascus rose, and peppermint on the finale. I don't know how to say it in English, but I let Valérie now to do the tasting with you guys.
Thank you. We will have questions anyway about that bird. Yeah, I think when of course, I think for me gin is a complex category, not only because I like it, but because you have so many new gins all the time, and I mean, you all know it. It's like every year you have so many new brands. So what do we do with this category, and how, find which are the ones that are worthwhile? And when we tried different gin, we were like, happily surprised of like very classic this gin was. I mean, because maybe we're like very traditional, but we decided that a gin must smell gin, like must be about juniper first, and not about lemongrass and grapefruit, and just that was nice. That something was bringing us into something very classical, and how this classical aspect will be twisted and we liked how it was very classic, but also very spicy. You have a lot of coriander, you feel the cardamom, you have something peppery first, and then on the palate, I cannot talk and drink at the same time, so. What we liked very much about this one, it was that the alcohol wasn't burning first, and that we were way more into like the botanicals, and this is what was like filling our mouth, all the botanicals, in a very strong way. This is a highly aromatic gin, and yeah, there is something more like sweetness and very like a hint of sweetness at the very end, but not like this like very cloying alcohol, etc. There was something way more discreet and subtle, and of course, I mean, you said that Denis put the little bird in the chat, and of course, when we discovered the gin, we didn't have the idea of the little bird. We were going through the word and trying to find all the botanicals and bringing back to like the north of France, which is a beautiful story. And I think, yeah, in alcohol, especially in spirits, we all need stories for that. And I think you have it. When we were in contact with the gin, we had like no story. We didn't think about a bird. But what we think first was, this is actually a gin that is very aromatic, that I could totally imagine drinking pure, but that will also not be, how to say, to add a tonic will not destroy the gin. Yeah. And I thought that was very nice because it can be very versatile, and you can really totally imagine like a cocktail, and you still have a lot of aromas. And it's not going to all disappear like some gin sometimes with like they have very volatile citrus aroma that's fantastic when you open the bottle. But as soon as you start mixing it, you're losing it, and you're like a bit, there is something that you can't find anymore. And I feel in this one, tonic or no tonic, you still have gin that really keep a good position. So I think for us, that was, when we tested different gin, that was something that was, that really, yeah, partiality to the idea, oh, this is actually a very interesting gin. So I think I can see the question about the tonic. I would suggest with this gin, I think you probably have been trying this way more than if you want to say otherwise.
Basically, we suggest the most neutral tonic that you can use. So premium Indian or some elderflower from Fever Tree, for example. You need to stay the most neutral as possible, because as you said, Valérie, these are there is a lot of aromatics in this gin, and we did it just because most of the time you had some tonic with it, and when we launched our distillery, we tasted a lot of different gins that were really good, but when you added some tonic, you didn't make any difference between a gin to another. So when we launched the distillery, we needed to have some very strong gin to keep our touch when we had some tonics.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would also suggest something like very neutral and dry, and I would also go more into Fever Tree of thank you for writing this. Yeah, and I think like even after pouring it and you wait like a few minutes, you still have like I think the paper is like stronger and stronger and taking like more and more room, but the rest is still present, which is something very nice. I mean, for us, that was so important to like go back to the gin after like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to see if it was not like a makeup thing, but if something was still staying like after you can't see the lipstick anymore. So thank you for that. Thank you for the gin.
Thank you, Valérie.
Of course, I feel like I have like this. It's a bit hard because I feel like now from beer to gin, we really like had to like jump quite hard, and now we're gonna jump again into like another category. So thank you for having solid morning palette. Yeah, and feel free to add questions for Thomas if you need to. I know you've been like also very popular in Belgium, so. But yeah, I think now we can maybe go and switch to the cognac, if it's okay with everyone. So I think we keep going back and forth. So we were like in the complete south of France, we went to Lille, and now we're gonna go back south. I'm gonna stay south a little bit. Would you like to say a few words about you?
Yes, so hello everybody. I hope you can see me. So my name is Marine Deschamps. I work for the Cognac Ragnaud-Sabourin. So Cognac Ragnaud-Sabourin is a family-owned cognac property since always. That is since 1850. So more than almost 200 years being in the same family. The particularity of Cognac Ragnaud-Sabourin is that it is both a vine grower and also a negotiant. As you must know, in Cognac, most of the time you're either a wine grower and a distillator, either merchants. But we are very few being both of these two, which means that we control 100% of what we do from the vine to the distillation and to the aging and the bottling, which means that we could say that we are craft for this. So we have 35 hectares, which are located in Grande Champagne. As maybe you know, Cognac has different crus. And so we are located in the best cru, which is Grande Champagne. The particularity of Grande Champagne is that it is a very calcary soil, and this is going to give very thin qualities and very floral notes to our cognac. The other particularity of being in Grande Champagne is that our cognacs can be aged much more than other cognacs from different crus. They appreciate being aged. So this is really the big specificity of the Cognac Ragnaud-Sabourin. Another specificity is that Cognac is made by almost 99% of the profession with Uni Blanc, which is a grape variety, which gives a lot of juice and is quite easy to produce. We in Ragnaud-Sabourin have taken the decision to plant 10% of our vineyard in Folle Blanche. Folle Blanche meaning literally crazy white. It's much more difficult, less productive, much more fragile vine. But it's very important for us to have this Folle Blanche because it's going to give a slight acidity to our cognac and to our blends. So this is also something which makes the difference between our craft cognacs and other cognacs that you can find on the market. Last thing, you are going to try the VSOP Cognac Ragnaud-Sabourin. So VSOP by law is minimum 4 years aged. All of our cognacs are always aged much longer than what is required by law. Typically, our VSOP is minimum 10 years aged cognac. And when you are going to taste it, you will see that this aging is going to give smoothness, length, and ratio, which is also very typical of our cognacs.
Yeah, and I totally join you on the words you're saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you all have it in your glass? So you have like this beautiful golden yellow color. I feel on the nose, for me, we already like it to like more like stewed fruit. This is probably what you said about like the aging, and this is really like there. And you have like something more like coffee bean, some vanilla, stewed prune, remondis, and on the palate. It's very soft, yeah. It's very soft, very mellow, and yeah, for me there is something almost buttery, slightly tannic. I mean, it's still very fresh. I mean, it's very like lively. It's not. You can feel that there's something that could also like evolve even more. But I feel like the prune, apple, toffee, a bit of oak, almost a bit of chocolate, like we had a bit earlier with the beer. Maybe I'm fluent, but I still like you have it. And I would say we because we like both are good about this. Like the finish was very long and very elegant. And yeah, nice sweetness in the beginning, this is true, but not overpowering, just like everything is very balanced. And we thought that was very accessible. Anyhow, it's a very accessible pleasure. And there is like a real complexity in it, but at the same time it's very open. There's something very generous, and we're like, oh, that's nice. And so that was, I think it really works well for people who knows about cognac, but also people who have like no idea and really wonder, like, cognac, really, that from my grandmother, or I don't know. And then I think there's like this freshness into it that, yeah, make it very accessible to people. I don't know if you all have the same experience. I'm checking like soft and aromatic nose, great taste, like nice sweetness at the beginning. Yeah, so it seems everyone agreed that, yeah, for VSOP that was a very wonderful and generous surprise. So thank you for.
Thank you. Well, I would say just.
East.
Sorry, to add very briefly to what you said, you don't, as for a VSOP are most of the time quite young eau de vie, and so there's an alcoholic kick. You mustn't forget that you're at minimum 40 degrees. We choose to put it at 41 degrees so that you can have the length, and so that you really have this power. However, it still is very smooth and very balanced because it's 10 years aged, and this is really what's important when you want to work on the eau de vie that have the power of alcohol, the length, but we still want them to be very silky.
Yeah, I can see there is a question about your web page, which seems not to work. Oh, that was working before. And have you been asked if you have so much older in stock?
Yes, of course, we have a complete range. So we have the VS. Our VS is 4 years old aged, and then we have a VSOP, 10 years, X Réserve Spéciale, which is 20 years old at 43 degrees. So really interesting in terms of complexity. Then we have an EXO, 25 years old, Fontvieille, 35 years old, and Florilège, 45 years old. I can send you the internet site if you want, because normally it's supposed to work. And to add, we also have millésime in cognac, a whole range of millésime, which is also very interesting because a millésime is going to give you the color or the story of 1 year. And so some years don't work, and so we don't have millésimes. But for instance, we've just launched a 91, which was a really a period of tremendous gel. And so it was very interesting because
Frost.
Yes, thank you, Frost. The vineyard has suffered a lot, and so what the vineyard has given to the eau de vie is very interesting.
Thank you. And sorry for the frost. I think this year is going to be also again.
Yeah, a bit difficult here. Yeah, very technical, but for all of my friends as well.
Yeah, you seem to have like a lot of resources to like take on the challenge. So wish you good luck for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this. And I'm sorry that I'm rushing it. I feel like this is really a lack of respect for the product and your work, but I'm trying to also be respectful of the time of everyone. So I think we're ready to like, now we're not gonna move too much. We're gonna stay in the region, go like slightly more south. And with this like fantastic Armagnac. Maybe you would like to present it? I leave you the floor.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm Cindy, and this is Sylvain. We are both working for Domaine de Hontembert. I'm in charge of the office, and Sylvain is the winemaker, so he will be the boss today for the tasting. Just one word on the property. So Domaine de Hontembert is located in Gers, in southwest of France, in the Ténérèse region. We have 35 hectares of vines with the 4 main grapes variety here in Armagnac, so Folle Blanche, Bacot, Colombard, and Uni Blanc. Each variety is vinified here, then distilled, sorry, because we have our own alembic, and then aged in our cellar. So we are both wine grower and negociant. So in craft, we are doing everything. All the eau de vie are straight from the cask. It means natural degree. You can see it. No additive, no coloring, nothing. We have a range with all vintages. We have about 30 different vintages from the end 70s to early 2000, and the young one for the blend, like XO today.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for this. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a wonderful, first, like, I think what strikes is the wonderful color. I mean, how like gold, almost like amber it is, and you can like see the alcohol like going down the glass. This is true, but like in a very fine way. And yeah, I don't know what's your like first impression on the nose, but for us who were like very into like this old toffee and like this sultana grape and something like a bit of a wood, but like very discreet. And I feel like after when you try it on the palate, you have the same thing that what you have on the nose, but you have something a bit more like nougat, a bit more like chocolate, that make it very like, in French we say gourmand, like this idea of very like full-bodied and give a lot of like pleasure, and with a very long and deep finish. So that was really, I must say, like an Armagnac that gave us all like great pleasure. And one of the members of the jury is a big Armagnac lover, and that was very nice just to see like the grin on his face, like, oh, this one I'm gonna take more. And so, and yeah, there is a lot of like depth in it, but at the same time, I feel there was the same thing with the cognac before. This is also very approachable. This is really something that even if you're like not like a connoisseur, etc., and you can really, yeah, try it and enjoy it. I think the complexity is also very open to this one. So that was something that we all liked very much. And I don't know, in terms of the technique, if you would like to add something or say more about your range. What was the challenge when making this one?
We use new casks, new casks for aging. So we don't add any water or any sugar or any coloring. It's important for us. It's a blend between Uni Blanc and Colomba. And it distilled with an Armagnac.
Your own still, yeah.
Sorry. I don't know if you had some question.
No, the new was really like answering some of my question. I was wondering, because I feel that you do feel it, but I think it's still very much integrated. The tannin is not overpowering and etc. I think the whole thing is very balanced. This is what struck us. Would you like to, maybe someone else has another question about this product, because it's not every day that you have the chance to have the maker in front of you. Otherwise, just you can write it in the chat. Yeah, so you can write any question in the chat. Thank you very much for being there today and for providing us with this like wonderful drink that we're gonna make our day even more smiling, I feel. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think now we can jump again and go into another category. So the only thing that's not going to change, we're going to stay in the southwest of France. So we're going to move too much, but in terms of taste, it's going to be again another move. Maybe the producer here, you can introduce us about. I think that would be interesting that you say a few words also about Rhum Arrangé, so we know in which category we are.
Yes.
Because I think for Armagnac, for this I didn't specify because people knows what it is, but I think Rhum Arrangé is very specific.
Yes. I'm Frank. I'm the producer and creator from this new brand in Germany. It came from an old French, an ancestral recipe, which name is Rhum Arrangé. But you know, this kind of category much in the English market as a spice rum. Rhum arrangé is used to be created in the Réunion Island in Indian Ocean because they have a bad rum. It's secret. So they put fruit, sugar to make it better. And every people who came making trip for traveling from holidays bring back some kind of small bags with spices, dry fruits, and make it in at home, rhum arrangé, which means arranges rum to do it better. My father, who is living in Cap Ferret, not far from Bordeaux, used to make his own rhum arrangé from a trip he has made. And as I am born in Bordeaux, I prefer spirits, and I change his recipe when I discover, Captain Morgan, and that Captain Morgan was a spice rum. So I tried to make rhum arrangé like a spice rum, 40 degrees, but with real spices, which mean using all the aromatic range of the spice or berry or fruit to exclusively naturally slow and rigorous macerations with agricultural rum from Martinique. By this way, friend of mine say your spirits, your spice rum is good. Why not to try to do it like in big quantity? Then we can buy you bottles. So I say, why not? So I start in 2009 meeting a small distillery of cognac near Cognac, and arriving with my kitchen recipe, and I say, I would like to make butter for my friend, and why not saving them? That started like this about 12 years ago. Today, you have the bottle of the first I've made, which is made with an entire cinnamon sticks, macerate long enough to provide the very essence of a spice and a hint of woodness stemming from the wood of the stick. And this is a 100 natural, lovely coppery colored spices and alcohol.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you already all have it in your glass? I mean, I would like to say, because I feel like. Sorry? And I think I have some echo now. No, I would like to say, like, to go back to the rum and the history of it. I think rum is always long history also with colonialism and etc. But in that very case of like rhum arrangé, there was also a very old in Madagascar. You also had this type of wine that was they were calling wine of like alcohol, like this betsa. And there was also this tradition of having fermented cane juice with spice and leaves and bark. So there is like this old tradition that I think was copied in Réunion when they had rum, etc. So I think that's a longer history than just colonialism. Yes. I go back to the testing, but like I have a question. It is from Vesu or molasses?
This is from agricole rum, which means from the sugar cane. They start making this kind of rum using what they call the cane wine, which is using the fresh juice from the cane, making like wine vinifications at 6 degrees, and after they distillate the rums. I'm buying rum at about 70-75 degrees and start my recipe with this really strong rum, what we call earth of distillation from the rums.
The hot, okay. And there is another question about how much sugar do you add? I think that's always a very important question in terms of the transparency.
I'm adding 3% of sugar, which came from sugar cane liquids. Everything I'm using in this recipe is rum, macerate stick of cinnamon, and 3% of sugar cane liquids. No coloring, nothing is added. I would like to say that in France, this rum has been checked by governmental office, which name is DGCCRF. We could say it's a French FDA. And when they take this product, they analyze it and say you are able to say it's handcrafted. You are allowed because you don't add anything. So you are not making false advertising on your labeling. And I say, can I use it in French and in foreign countries? They say, yes, you can use it in all Europe because we are the same. We have the same law about eating and what we call drinking, alcohol drinking. So it's a real handcrafted spice rum.
Yeah, I think you have another question about saying that it's not a rum-based spirit. This is a rum agricole-based spirit.
Yes, it's a rum agricole.
So I don't know if it answers your question.
Yes.
I don't know who is AT, Rum Exchange Trading, but does that answer your question?
Yes. Sorry.
Well, I hope. Yeah. Otherwise, you tell us if it's unclear.
No, at the microphone. Sorry. So because you know the sugar law, when you add 20 grams sugars per liter alcohol, it's a rum-based spirit. So it's written on spirit drink on the backside. So
yes,
for that reason, it's more than 20 grams sugars inside.
It's just 3% of sugar inside.
3% of sugar, and the rest is.
Yes. Which means like grams, it's equal to 3 grams per liters. So which means.
So 3 grams sugar per 100% alcohol.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
May I ask a question, please? Because I see that the chat is muted. So I have a question. Hello.
Yes.
The question is following: is a rum from Vesoul molasses?
No, it's rum from agricole, which means molasses came after you took big parts of sugar to make other alcohol, which means what I learned about molasses and agricole rums. Normally, you use alcohol from sugar cane in Southwest America for benzene cars, which means it's part of gasoil for the cars. And what you have at the end of the distillation is molasses. And then you bring it back to distillations, and you have, I would say, poor aromatic alcohol.
I understand that, but the question is exactly this one. Vesoul, it's sugarcane juice. So yes. You distillate the sugarcane juice. You don't distillate the molasses.
I'm buying sugarcane liquid. I'm buying I'm buying rums, agricole rums, at one of the biggest French producer, which is in Martinique and Guadeloupe. Which means
they distill then directly the sugarcane juice, the Vesoul. The Vesoul, okay. It's not the molasses. Okay, super.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I think this is what also gives to go back to the spirits. This is also what gives like this very intense sugarcane like aspect to it. We're like not into something too oversweet, but there is something almost like grassy, and that is very present in it. And also, I would say like what we liked about it's because the cinnamon was not too. I mean, it's here. This is very clear. There's no way you can like not see it, but it's not overpowering. This is you didn't put too much on it. So this balance between the spice and the sugarcane we thought was very interesting, because it was still very harmonious, and and then you have also nutmeg. So you leave room to like all the type of impression of spice. That was very nicely done, and we thought that was very balanced and very singular the way you do. And I would totally imagine this as also in terms of food pairing, etc. I would imagine this as being drunk pure. Then I will keep it more like maybe on the winter time. But then I think that would be very nice about as a cocktail enhancer. I would totally imagine mixing it with we talked about like a bit of like style of Apfelschorle style, and then adding like a little hint of it, which will make like a very low alcohol cocktail, but also give like a lot of personality. So I think that there is something very versatile in this drink that we really appreciate. How you can have it pure as a cocktail enhancer, at the base for a cocktail. Yeah, I think this is very broad, and I feel you have a lot of questions.
The on speeder has been late. We are finals of these.
There is a question, for example, when they ask you about the kind of cinnamon do you use for that rum?
I'm buying cinnamon yes, I'm using stick of cinnamon, which is by in French. This company is, we call it herboriste. We used to sell a lot of ingredients for pharmacy and also for infused like tilleul, like mint. I'm buying in French because I want that all the ingredient I'm using have been controlled. Because like I'm making macerations, I should have product, if I'm buying directly from Madagascar or anywhere else, which could have not been well dry or well stocked. So everything is controlled because it's like not natural product, but macerate, infused. If you have other question, I could add a little an information.
There's actually, yes, a last question about asking about if it is a 3 years old rum.
No, no. A lot of people think that it's old rum because of the color.
The color.
Yeah, but the color came from the stick of cinnamon, and the hint, the hint of woodness that you have just came from the cinnamon
bark.
Exactly. Everything has been controlled in France. You know, as I'm saying, it's handcrafted. No coloring, no excipient, which means making stronger any kind of aroma, of taste, or coloring.
Yeah, so it adds, just answer your question, right? I don't know who is 80 rum exchange trading, but there is no coloring. This is only coming from the maceration.
Yes. If I had coloring, it would not be. I will not be able to say handcrafted, because it should be false information for false advertising.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that is wonderful with the craft spirit. I mean, even though I think it may be a bit more regulated, I don't even know so if regulation is always the best solution to everything. But at least I think the common point of all the products we've been testing, the 10 products we've been testing today, is like how everyone is really paying attention to like sourcing the product, sourcing the ingredients. And I think this is, even though you have distillation, maceration, fermentation, like all kind of technique, in the end it has a big emphasis about the ingredients. And that's something I think that I hope you could see through like the cider and beer and spirits and all the different version and appearance. This can take this like attention to sourcing, but I feel this, for me, that was very what was very, I mean, the common point of all the different products we had today.
We have still one question left. So you told us, Frank, that your rum is not 3 years old, but how old is the rum?
It don't have any age. It just came from the column of distillation, which means I'm buy it at 70, 75 degrees. That depends of every distillations, and then it's bringing back to about 45 degrees, and then I start the macerations in inox bulk, which means nothing is added by any bulk, any fût, I don't want to say barrel, sorry.
Barrels, yeah.
Yes, any barrels. So, production is not quick as like you had aroma or taste or coloring. It's about 3 months rums with cinnamons or other ingredients that I for other spice.
Okay.
May I add some things about the short story of these products? I tasted in Provine in a small stand in 2019 with business friends. I made people, they taste it and they say at this time the label was not explicit like that English or German people could understand it. So I meet people from Ingrid's Design in Hamburg, and they made the label you have to feed markets, women and young that could be able to buy this product. And as Valérie said, I love it with Apfelschorle because it's better for me to drink it every day than strong and stuff rums. And we meet a small seller in Provine in 2019, which name is Dr. Kohan in Berlin. And we saved in with the old labeling about 200 bottles per year. So it was making me understood that German market could be a nice market and also Anglo-Saxon market.
Yeah, I feel it's like, I think the whole east of Europe, I think it's not only Germany. I would totally imagine that's also the type of flavor that someone can appreciate from Slovakia, in Switzerland, etc. I think it's not only German, especially because it is startup cinnamon.
Yes, so and I would like to give you an information. We have been selected by Foodist Rum Advent Calendar for this end of this year. So it's kind of advertised for us with people who are wealthy and able to launch products and spirits. This is the first of a range that we have started in France, and we will be able to make it grow, but it's also the cheapest because cinnamon is the cheapest one. So we will have a range with several pricing because, as you say, vanilla and using real vanilla is so expensive that we have one in France, we taste it in Germany, but we will be able to make different price with different products because we
different
are
spices
and natural. And as said Valérie, everybody who tastes it in Germany say it would be the spice you have in your glasses would be one of the best base for winter rum, Christmas rum in England, Yule rum in Scandinavia, which is not existing where I'm living, which is Bordeaux. We drink wine for winter. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much for adding this. But I think the versatility, that was something that we saw, so was very subtle and versatile. That was interesting.
Yes, thank you
for that. But yeah, I must say, yeah, Phil, maybe we still have some time for the some questions you want to ask. Otherwise, I would like to just give some few words about this tasting. I must say, so I'm French, as you can hear the whole time, but I spent a lot of time in Germany, Österreich, where I got completely fascinated by all the different schnapps and eau de vie and etc. And I completely forgot about France most of the time. And I think during this tasting, I really loved how creative people are, and how you have like a lot of like new producers. So that really also gave me like a new perspective on France, where I always think about the wine not so much about spirits or beer or cider or only when I'm in France and etc. But it was very wonderful to see how people are actually very dynamic and creative and bringing, which is for me the most important things, like a new taste. Not only about new, but I mean really paying attention to like taste and experience. And I hope that for you also, like this whole like little journey through France to like only 10 different drinks was also a way to show like how taste can be like so versatile and multifaceted. But me, that's something that I really appreciated during the tasting. I hope you did too. Feel free if you have any other questions. And I think you will be put into contact also, if you need, with the producers. But at least now you have some faces, even though we're not, we cannot see each other, but at least we know our faces, which is good.
Hatten Sie noch eine Frage? Weinhausleiter? Or one question? No, okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I had a great time. I think some people do too. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Valérie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Valérie. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
You too.
Schönen
Bye.
Nachmittag. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ja, tschüss.
Tschüss.